um, the authentication required is generally needed in order for it to complete the update it's trying to do. That's been my experience with it.
Yeah, I could say that sometimes a updates available window has been there, but sometimes it's just a blank screen, so I can't tell.
Could there be a timeout on the authentication token, Bill, for the software upgrades to occur? You know, Stan is sort of saying it's once a month. Could there be a default timeout on, you know, how often you need to enter that password, the HAMSI password?
It sounds like that's something that could be possible. There's an awful lot of Linux that's goes beyond my level of knowledge on it. That's one of those areas. Linux security, boy, that's a whole. I mean, you can make your career based on nothing but Linux security.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's just interesting that the Raspberry Pi Raspbian has been running for 800 days and not so for the other ones, but
yeah. Well, it may have to do with I don't know what the protocol is for applying updates to Raspbian. Maybe it's just not getting updated. They come out with updates to regular Ubuntu about on the regularity that you're seeing these hang-ups about once every few weeks. At least that's what I've seen. I don't have a running Grape One anymore. The SDR chip on mine went out, or the little SDR card that John developed went out, and I don't have it running, so I don't have recent experience with it.
okay.
I think updates are turned off on Raspbian, but there's really, I couldn't find a way to turn off kernel updates or security updates on Ubuntu. So that may be what's going on, you know.
That's a very good working theory. That's what's causing that.
I guess.
Well, one other thing though is anybody else experiencing this, or am I the only one?
I have seen it myself, but only on one of my DRF stations, not the other. I have two.
Seen it.
You've seen it, Bob?
Yeah. I don't have anything running since I had to take everything down because of the work going on in the basement. But so nothing's running now here. But I've seen problems like Stan's, I think. I usually just restarted it, but
Well, when you have no video indication, all you can do is pull the plug, which is some risk involved.
Yeah, understood.
I don't remember.
Hmm.
I don't remember that problem, but I had problems with the DRF1 crashing.
No, we'll just reset them.
Wonder what is the display. Well, with some of these systems, there's a setting that indicates that the screen will go blank after so many minutes, and you can set that. And in my experience, it's actually possible to turn that off. Now, you could have some problems with screen burn-in, I guess, but that would be something to look into. What is because it would be a lot more convenient for the user if one could see what the system state is when it hangs. And which may be a setting in Linux, in Ubuntu, I should say.
Okay.
There is a screen timeout setting. Control panel.
Back to net.
Okay. Anything else to talk about today? Either we can announcements or discuss later.
Yeah, I've got a couple things to announce once it's my turn.
Okay. So we will walk through things. World Amateur Day is World Amateur Radio Day is coming up if you want to participate in it. I don't see Dr. Frizzell, so I'm gonna guess not here. I do not see him. And I don't see John either, so Bill, take it away.
Okay, when I share my screen is all right, well, I'll just launch into the two things I got working this week, although they're not, one of them is kind of I've just got this working yesterday, so it's still not perfected, but it's getting there. Today, or rather yesterday, I got it working where I can import an entire day's worth of Grape 2 data. That is the Grape 2 running the binary data. So it is the full 4.95 gigabyte set of files. And I got it. Look at the first line. Are you seeing that display of PSWS? This is an observation of the Grape 2. This is one of the very first ones that John ran back on March of last year. And we got it uploaded into the network. It displays the three frequencies that it has running. And could somebody please mute everybody please mute their audio. I'm getting some feedback. Right here we have the observation from that day this came on one of the hard drives that was shipped to me, the node 1001, and see, it also did the plot. This is the plot developed by Kung and Nguyen. It works quite well. So I will be importing those hard drives. I found out some efficient ways of reading those in. I can read one of those 4 terabyte hard drives into the system in about 10 hours or so. And then it takes about another day to convert everything from that hexadecimal format into digital RF, and about another an hour or two to run all the plots. And then just a few minutes. Once you've done all that, it just takes a few minutes to load it into this system. So that's one thing we got working that's recent. I should mention also that the students have a version 0 of the API running for doing mass downloads, if you want to do mass downloads of data from the system. We did get one download to work with just a few bugs in it yet that we have to work out, but we're close to having an API. Now, one thing I can say is that I don't yet have a working solution for downloading one of these gigantic Grape 2 observations, because they are about 5 gigabytes each. And when somebody downloads, tries to download one, as we have it right now, it just times out. So we're gonna have to figure out a solution for that. But one other thing the students got working, let me bring this up and show you. All right. This is something that was the concept of this was developed by Gary and Bill Blackwell for getting the necessary config file for the uploader to take your make your Grape 2 legacy system able to upload to the personal space for the station network. Here's how you do that now. Now this isn't perfected yet because we still have to work out an issue with capitalization. That was pointed out to me yesterday, but if you go into your station, you know, you say view my stations. All right, then go into, here is a Grape 1 legacy system here. You go to it and then you take a look at, you know, you've got one instrument here, you go to the instrument and there's a new button here, download config file. You hit download config file and then you'll get it downloaded and that will be the uploader config file that you copy that over using a USB stick or whatever clever means you want to use. You put that on the Grape 2, or rather the Grape 1 legacy system, and it'll be able to upload to using the uploader, I think version 8 of the uploader. So we have done some early preliminary tests of this with Bill Blackwell and Gary's station, and I think Dave Swartz was also participating on this, but I haven't seen anything on that for a couple of days. I've been head down on trying to finish up the loader system for the Grape 2 data. So
Yeah,
anyway.
That's really fantastic, Bill. You've gotten a lot accomplished. The uploader.config, I will mention you do have to edit it to set the band that you're listening on for Grape 1 before you run it. And also, we need to figure out a way for users, Grape 1 legacy users, to download the script, the Python script to do the actual upload. We haven't really talked about that yet, but are we going to be sending those out, or will people have a website to go to download them?
I think probably what makes the most sense would be for me to put it on the help screen. There's a couple of information screens on the PSWS network. Let me bring up and show a couple of things on that. Okay, here. If you go to the top level to home and then go to about, you've got a couple of pages of stuff about the system. And probably the thing to do is it's got a few pages of information. So probably the thing to do is for me to put it in here where it'd be a link where you click on it and it pushes it to your system. By the way, also, this is what the uploader config file looks like. The hard part about this is getting the token value correct. This will give you your token for that station and that instrument. I mean, it's mainly associated with the station. This will give you the token. It will automatically populate the token value for that station, thus getting away from authentication problems when trying to do the upload. It puts in the correct instrument ID for that device. You do have to, as Bill said, you do have to edit this to put in what band you're using. The most common one people are using is 10.0, but there are several people who are running their Grape 1 legacy system on different frequencies. if you want to, you can also edit this throttle. This 200K right here is designed to use a minimum amount of bandwidth. For people who have DSL, that is about that's a comfortable level, which does not interfere with other things going on. But if you have something else, you can set that up to a megabit or 20 megabits if you have fiber or Starlink or something like that. So also this right here, there is more than one way to skin this cat as far as where people have their spectrum data being stored. So we might want to talk about what is the best thing to put here and what guidance do we give to users. I think there is a standard for this, isn't there? Like
That actually has to be that specific path because
okay.
of the way the uploader works. It's expecting to find files in the SXFR directory.
Okay.
So
Yeah, the
they get
original-
copied there by the cron job. So that's where the uploader needs to look for them.
Yeah, the original file structure, anything in that directory gets transferred every night.
Yeah.
That's the way it was set up.
And
Okay.
then after a successful transfer, the file is deleted or
Right.
actually transfer. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, that works out well then. Now let's see. But now you've had this working for a while, working it this way, right, Bill?
Yeah, I've got it working, and I think Gary does. Mine has been working every night for 2 weeks or so.
Okay.
The only thing that's not working is the auto generation of plots, and it doesn't seem to happen every day. So the trigger directories are getting created on the server, but the plots aren't being generated for some reason.
Well, it may be that the server's getting overloaded. I've been
Yeah,
looking to find out how much load I can put on this server. I mean, I've got it juiced up to pretty high level of power, but it may not be enough. Maybe you need to upgrade to 16 cores. I got them to upgrade the server to 8 cores, but I found out, it's easy to saturate with processing these big data packages that come from the Great 2. Now I can control how much load it puts on the system. But what I'm doing on the Great 2 files is I first transfer the raw data from the 4 terabyte hard drive into the user's, you might notice it's something called G2 raw. It's the raw data. From that, I convert to G2 DRF, put that into the DRF, and then it maintains the raw data. Then once the G2 data has been converted to DRF, then I take and compress the original files using PigZip, which will use as many cores as you let it. And then I store that on box. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the raw data from the system. And then you'll have the DRF data. Then I have to go through and run the DRF data to run plots of all of it, and then cross-reference it into the database, whereupon it will show up in the observation table. So it's getting there. So John, I managed to do your observation from, I guess, whenever it was March 3rd of last year, and that worked. So anyway, you'll start seeing more of those start to show up, but I do have to find that compromise between how much processing power the system has and how much interference. I mean, I don't know if the CPU capacity is all there is to it, because there could also be, I could also run to limits on IO when I mean, I'm trying to run a lot of things in parallel, and there may be some limits on how much bandwidth we have to our hard drive system.
yeah.
I don't know how much I can do to juice that up. I might be at the upper limit on that. So I guess I'm just gonna have to find out. This thing that happened last night, I'll have to go back and recreate the trigger files to get it to go through and update, rather import stuff that was uploaded last night. And when this happens, the data's there. You don't lose the upload. It just didn't run the trigger file is what triggers the system say, here we put this cross-reference in and we run the plot. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I can see the data in the CSV data directory after an upload. So I know it's there. It's just not showing up either on the PSWS network website or on the plots on the website, either the data or the plots for the last few days.
Yeah,
So-
I re-triggered, well, a couple things. I re-triggered a couple of the files, or rather triggered a couple of ones where the uploads ran, but it didn't get into the database last night, and they did run and they did plot. So everything's intact on the system.
Okay,
I got an encryptic message, processor so-and-so is stuck. And I've never seen this message come out from Linux before, but the watchdog got into a stuck state. And when it does that, it doesn't process any more of the trigger files, and the trigger files just sit out there. So I mean, I can find them. You can do a search and find the trigger files and then recreate them, and then it seems to run after that. I just have to make sure that I don't. It looks like if I load the system more than about 75% and that's 75% of 8 cores. Maybe I need to back it off a little bit more, but we're still finding our way here. We're in uncharted territory with regard to the server.
yeah, once you get to 75%, all bets are off. I think that's a heavily
Yeah.
loaded server.
So what I might ask, I mean, I can get this just by asking for it. I can ask them to put on another 8 cores and see what we can do here, how much we can get away with. I mean, you start putting, well, one thing that I have noticed is that the latest software of Kong's uses very little memory. It uses this Polar's library, which does what they call lazy loading. It doesn't load any more into memory than the absolute minimum necessary to do what you ask for. And it's quite amazing that the CSV to DRF and plotting both use relatively little memory for the gigantic task that they have. So it may be that what it does is it compensates by doing a lot of I/O, but I don't know for sure. Anyway,
Yeah,
over the course of today, I'll rerun those triggers. I have to, after this meeting, I have to go downtown to take care of some legal matters. But after that, I'll go through and I'll just have to keep an eye on how much load we put on the server with. Particularly, what eats a lot of capacity is when you go through, the Grape 2 system produces a CSV file for every hour. So if you have one of those for a whole year with a file for every hour, and you say, oh, let's compress that. That really hits the server in the side of the head with a hammer. Now you can control the amount of CPU it uses, so I just have to find that compromise. So back to Ned.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up my experience a little bit with the Grape One that we were working on a couple weeks ago.
Sure.
And I went out there, I changed out the Grape 2 hard drive and everything and got the backup and sent that to you, Bill. I'm assuming it got to Alabama correctly. That was the Grape 2 swap. I also was running a really old Grape 1 legacy, and so I actually downloaded and reconfigured that whole thing back to where it should be with the most recent version. And John helped me get that figured out. Thanks, John. But I ran into a problem when we were going through the script that we were testing out to make this transfer from Grape One Legacy to to the from the WWV repository to Alabama. And it turns out that I have three different instruments under three different usernames on the Alabama system now. And so I think that's the big hangup that I've got, because I could not log into and retrieve the tokens that are required to be able to do the transfer. And so I wrote an email on the 31st, Bill. If you didn't see it, maybe it's back in your archive somewhere, but it just sort of outlined that I've got three different usernames instead of one username. And I really should have one username and three instruments, I think is how we're supposed to do it. Three instruments under my one username. Is that correct?
Well, here is the thing, let me see how to correctly state this. No, I think you should have three usernames, and the reason for that is that due to an oversight in the original design, which is my fault, but there it is, we don't support multiple instruments of the same type under the same station. And your username, there's two different usernames. There's one username you have to sign into PSWS when you do a login to that website. But then you have Unix user ID, which is used for uploading. And each station has its own user ID and token. So you can't have multiple instruments of the same type on the same station. Now, if you have one station and multiple different instrument types, you can do that. So for example, if you have a Grape One of any flavor and a magnetometer on the same station, that works fine. If you have a Grape One Legacy and a Grape Two on the same station, that works fine. If you try to put two Grape One Legacies or two Grape One DR stations on the same station, it'll do it, but the data would get commingled. So it starts becoming a big mess.
I have the three different, my instruments are all the flavors. So I have a Grape One, a DRF, and a Grape Two. So they are different instruments. So what you just said, I think that they should be able to be clustered under my one username.
Yes.
And even in the Unix system, you should be able to differentiate it. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, because
so we need to correct that, because I ran into a problem. You have a recovery where you can get something mailed to your email, but I couldn't specify which account I was, because they're all under my email. My email is correct, as you know, it's the same email. So I can't use that back door because I've got three different accounts under the same email too. So to me, it makes sense if we could have these three instruments under one person, but three unique instruments. That would be the way to do it. And that way I could retrieve the tokens properly and then proceed with the change.
yes.
And so that I can't correct it from my end. That would be just something for you guys to tackle. It might be a problem for other people as we make this switch. If they already have another, device as well, are they going to have? Are there other people out there with both, Grape One and then a DRF and a Grape Two? They may want to cluster under the same station, location.
Well,
I think there are.
yeah, several of us do. And what I do is I have one login ID. I have several different stations, and each station can have one or more instruments. And I think what Bill is saying is that one station can't have two of the same instrument type. Is that right, Bill?
Right.
So I have one station with one instrument that I originally set up when the DRF system was distributed, because that was back before that was a while ago. I can't remember when we did that, but the Grape 2 was added, but all the data was sent to the WWV ARC repository, so we never had to deal with that coming back, and now we are. And also now we're trying to do the same thing with the legacy. So I do have, 3 unique instruments that I think would be best if they were under one station, if that's possible.
Yeah, it can be done. I have a note here. I'm sorry I didn't get your email. It's just been a little bit overwhelming.
Oh, I know. No, no excuses. It's fine. No worries. I've been the same way. I've had a busy week.
So anyway, let me do this. I will take a look at what you got out there and then come up with an idea on how to try and unify it and then let you know.
Yeah, perfect. I think that's what I'm asking for. Thank you.
Yeah,
I think it might, others might have the same issue. I don't know.
well, I have your Whisper Demon Grape as a station under my PSWS account. So, that would make more sense if it were part of your account, Dave.
So
But I don't think
here's
I
the
don't
deal.
know that I can change ownership, It's
No, we ran into this when you set that up and you had when we added that RX 888 at the
yeah,
same site.
yeah.
And you asked for the WW0 WWV call sign, and I think that's appropriate. That is
Yeah.
appropriate for that receiver. The one instrument that I've got is under user WW0 WWV. Another user is W0 DAS number 1, or those are the instruments. But I've got 3 different users. One of them is WW0 WWV. So if we eliminated that, that would differentiate the ones that you're managing. The club call sign WW0 WWV is you're using that for the RX 888, and we're using that for the whispered sound, and I think that's appropriate to keep them under your watch. So that's
Okay,
good.
well, yeah, my nickname for this, let's see, for the grape at your site is /0, V/0 is the nickname. Um, I don't see anything else that other than the station ID and the device ID.
So
So,
the nicknames I've got are I've got a W0 DAS node 1007. That's the Grape 2. And then the Grape Legacy is listed as WW0 WWV node 16. So,
mm,
I think it would be good if you only use the club call sign and my call sign stays with the grapes that
yeah, okay.
we're collecting. But we'll work out all these little details and we can put it in email and just to make sure we're all talking about the same thing. Thanks. Back to net.
Okay. Either way, really well done, Bill. You have gotten a lot done. I did see John, I believe. So I just want to ask quickly, did you have any updates?
The only excitement this week is one of the new hard drives failed. I believe the old one was already sent back, so I'm going to have to reformat one and we're going to have to ship another one out to a node. So I think that's the only excitement I had on this project this week.
We've got 19 nodes that now have swapped. Just
Oh,
FYI.
excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
Do we need to contact, I mean, I'm willing to do it, the people that have not swapped, to give them a reminder?
Yes.
Probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so somebody would just have to
And
somehow tell me who that would be or who's been swapped or whatever.
I'm one of them because I'm out of town, and Bob Reif is another one, and he was on here a while ago. So,
Yeah, he's off the air anyhow, so, but
yeah,
that's pretty good though. 19 out of the 28 that were in the field, that's actually a pretty good ratio.
we're getting there.
So Rachel, I'll work with you on getting a shipping label for that once I format it and get it ready to go.
Cool. Well, Do you feel comfortable talking to Zorman? Because I don't really have the power to do such things, so I would just forward it to
Oh.
Dr.
Okay, I can do that. He's my boss. I can yell at him. At least once.
But also send it to me if it falls by the wayside, because it sometimes does take a little bit of a,
Yeah, he's a busy man.
yeah, so it's almost a job just to be like, every 3 days, remind Zorman.
Yeah. I would want his position. No, thank you.
If you have Sheila's email too, apparently it can be helpful to copy her.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, or concerns?
I've got just one more question for Bill Engelke. Bill, daily I create plots for a group of people and send them out. Right now, we're downloading those data files from the WWV server, and I'm going to need to convert over to downloading them from the PSWS network server. And so I'd be interested in the API as soon as you have something you can share with me to start testing the downloads for those plots. This would be only not the raw data, but the cooked data,
Yeah, CSV files.
CSV files, the 1 second data. So it's a small number of files per day. But as we convert over from Dave's WWV server to the Alabama server, we're going to need to change that download site.
Yeah, I have a meeting with, my students are working on this. I have a meeting with them tomorrow. We had it working about 80% last meeting. And the student had an assignment of things to fix, and he's pretty good. He should have that straightened out by tomorrow. And then well, that would be what we would call a beta test version. So once we have a beta test version, I will inform you of what it is and how to use it. We're trying to get it to where it works 3 different ways, where you can access it through HTTP and wget and curl. We want to get it to where it can be accessed all those 3 ways. And so, yeah, that's the objective. And then that will be the underlying engine for the eventual happy server we hope to stand up. That's a heliocentric API. So yeah, as soon as I have something on that, I'll let you know.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? I don't see Michael on.
He's
Rob?
he's on vacation. Hold on a second. Yeah, he's on vacation.
I was gonna ask
Yeah. So let's see. So we don't have much to report. It's I think that Michael's been working on the ELF antennas. So we're ready for the deployment at Nathaniel's in week after next. So that's and I've been doing a lot of tone burst offset measurements at on WWV server, and I think I went into that in detail. So it continues results continue to confirm that we have good temporal accuracy, stability. Let's just say once it starts recording, all the tone bursts have the same offset in the wave files. So evidence continue to have evidence that there's no loss of samples over day long runs. So that's, I think, good long term. I don't think Bill Lyle, who started this, I don't think joins any of the calls, but he was the one who initiated, first identified that this was a problem, or might be a problem. So I think we're at the stage where the Whisper Demon grape system I know is pretty well validated, and I've done a as a result, I've made that the main trunk deployed version of software. So all of the Whisper Demon grape sites will now be running a version 3.3.2, and I'm going around and uncovering some problems like DP0 GPN. The down in Antarctica, the has a rather slow connection, not so bad, but slow. So SSH and SCPs take longer from there. So things were timing out, so I had to adjust that. But these are, I think the Whisper Demon Grape systems are now contributing pretty reliably. I haven't even looked at how many of them there are, but I get, yeah, wonderful. Bill, your email reports are extremely helpful. That's uh, just great for me because it tells me if there's a problem in my software. So, uh, and I've encouraged Michael to also use that feature. So any of you who have a in this any form of grape, I really encourage you to find that checkbox and turn on email reports so that you know you get a message several hours after UTC 0 if your uploads don't appear on Bill's server. So that's that's a really essential feature and great to have.
Yeah, and there might be some bogus ones going on right now because of some congestion in the server till I get the loading figured out. I think all of probably everybody got an email last night because there was a failure of the watchdog, but that's one of the things I want to do is I want one of the things that we're going to put together is like a system health monitor that I should know about it a little bit quicker when this happens.
Okay. Well, that's a great feature. We would be I- did we give you enough information about the calibration of the 888 systems that that 1 volt RMS or peak, I think it is 0.707 volts RMS corresponds to 0 dBm on the RF connector of the 888. So it would be really good if we could uh, get our reports to have uh, the intensity, uh, signal strength in dB reference a peak, peak level of 1 volt being the 0 dBm. Because you can compare with that, you can compare the absolute signal levels between different AAA Whisper Demon grape sites. The 888s we've all measured, the whole system is within a dB from unit to unit of say get the same levels from uh, well, -30 or some calibrated some input signal levels across different sites give you exactly the same um, uh, absolute levels, signal levels in the grape charts, grape uploads. So you're getting absolute signal levels would be really, getting dBm in the charts would be really helpful.
Yeah, I'll have to give that to one of the students. I'm probably not going to get to that myself, but
Yeah,
I will talk to them about that tomorrow.
that would be good. That's
Okay.
that's all I have. I can think of.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Christina, any updates from you?
Nothing to report right now, dealing with family illness, so I'll be back in touch soon. Bill, I owe you a meeting to talk about the next steps for the API and so forth. What I'm planning to do for the sort of figuring out how to get the data into analysis pipelines is convening a design charrette, basically giving everybody a chance to talk about what they want to use the data for and making sure that however we decide to organize that, you know, fulfills as many of our use cases as possible. But I'm going to need to talk to Bill first, so I will be in touch.
Okay. Any other business questions, comments, concerns? All right. 73, everyone.
7-3.
7-3.